Welcome, everybody. Today is December 13th, 2025, and I am very excited to have here with me Dr. Lawrence Hoppes, who lives in Arizona and California, both states, and he is part of our community of Sounding the Color Within. And I want you guys to get to know him and know what he does. We have some pretty amazing practitioners and teachers, and he is definitely one that stands out. And so I want to tell you my story. Welcome, Lawrence.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to be here.
So I want to tell the story of how we met because it was pretty remarkable. So it was back in 2022, Dr. Kessler held the first conference after COVID. We were shut down, right, for a few years, and I went to my first conference in Arizona. And I walked into the conference space, and there was this incredible vibration that my body was feeling. And I walked around the different tables to find out where this vibration was coming from. So in my mind, I'm looking for a piece of equipment. I'm looking for a light. But as I get closer to Lauren's table, the vibration got stronger, and he had these little, they looked like Tic Tac, Nutris. And he had something called Nutripuncture and all these supplements out. And I thought to myself, no, it can't be that. And he doesn't know this part. So I walked out of the conference space and I said, I'm going to clear myself and I'm going to really, like, it can't be that. Those are little pills. So I did that. I did the same thing, went around, went back to his table, and sure enough, my vibration, I mean, it was vibrating my entire body. And I said, okay, I have to know who this man is, what these things are. So I went up to him and I introduced myself. I said, hi, nice to meet you. And I said, please tell me, what are these things? And so he said, well, those are tuning forks for the body. And that's it. He had me at tuning forks. There it is. So, so Lawrence, I want you to share with the group your background, what you do,
Yeah.
and also share about this amazing system called Nutripuncture that is not very well known in the United States. We have a lot of people in the group from different parts of the world, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, a lot of Latin America, US. So in the US, it's not very well known, but so it is in Europe. So please, Lawrence, tell us about you and about this amazing system.
Oh, totally. And I have to say, like, you were so cute. Like when you walked up to my table, you were very, a ginger, and kind of, tentative. And I saw you run your fingers over the cases because you had to be right touching them. And I
Yes.
asked you, are you feeling these? And you said, I'm feeling them. What are they? So that was really amazing testimony. And he has the yin yang, and he has that kit that you showed, and he has an advanced kit. And in the advanced kit are the Nutris for aquaporons on the,
Yep. These?
yes, exactly,
Yep.
and for the photonic body. And so those are the ones you were really super drawn to, and you were really saying, oh my gosh, you have to tell me about this. We got to go out to dinner later and meet Mike, and just it was such an enchanting time for me. So here we are
Yes,
2 years later, and it's lovely. It's lovely to be here. I'm a
it is.
traditional naturopath. I came to naturopathy by the old road of internship and just finding my way with it, which makes me kind of a an oddity in the sense that I'm not super classically trained. I was an engineer by training and a systems engineer, and then I was really not relating to engineers very well. Couldn't have lunch with them because I didn't know what to talk about, and I was the weird guy in the room from Santa Cruz. So at that time, I started to transition out of my lovely career. Went back, started taking microbiology classes. I had a microscope. I was looking at blood. I was divinely guided. I was meeting every third person. Oh, you're a doctor. Oh, you study blood. Oh, this or that. I got in a car accident and went to the best doctor I could find. In the Yellow Pages had a full page ad, was an osteopath, naturopath, homeopath, and medical doctor, and a Nobel Prize group recipient. And when I told him what I did. He called me to show him, and then he immediately called his receptionist over and said, "Book so and so and so so and so and so." So I was seeing his patients, and it's been kind of like that wherever I go. I'm carrying some kind of a mantle to support healing. So I was in Maui because I was traveling with my microscope and the glowing tubes, plasma tubes, with a really cool Rife practitioner. And I met a client there who said, "You have to find this Nutripuncture system. I saw it in Europe when I was in Germany, and it's fantastic, and it really heals everything in the body." And a couple of years passed, and I really couldn't find it. I didn't know what would ever come of it, but I kept it in the back of my mind. And one day I was in West Los Angeles, and one of my clients came in, and he had the kit, and I did the same as you. I was like, the whole energy changed in the
Yeah.
whole out of that kit. These days it's really, people are big on fascia. They're really talking about lymphatic intelligence, extracellular matrix intelligence, and the
Right.
way that the supercomputer of the body governs itself. And I meet this doctor, and it was the same experience. He looked at the whole room of people, and he said, "Every one of you is completely unique." And you could tell he was receiving us like one at a time. He was really seeing us. He said, "There's no one like you in the whole universe." And then he said, "You've disturbed yourselves deeply to be made completely unique." And there was like so much compassion in him, that he was feeling our disturbances. But he said, this is the meaning of the life, is to understand the disturbances of the body and to bring healing resolution to them, so that they, you learn your uniqueness, you bring honor to it. And he says that in this day and age that we're in a troubled time where people are literally putting on a artificial skin and
Yeah.
artificial blood and a group identity, and they're losing they're depolarizing, they're losing their layer of information out of the body. And so he created this system starting in 1985 to be able to bring people back to themselves, to their own identity, and to help them to quickly cognitively integrate the disturbances. So, I mean, it's a lot of words, but like, could I describe a typical session with you?
Absolutely. Please go
Well,
ahead.
in a very typical session, someone will have a problem, and you ask them what the problem is. And they'll say, "Oh, I had an altercation with my neighbor this morning. It's so disturbing," or whatever. But you'll hear the word neighbor, like you listen for the disturbed word, right? And then you go through, is this in the air, the light, the water? Is it in the sacred, or is it in the earth? Well, in this case, it's the neighbor is in the earth, and it kind of makes sense. So you're kind of adding this up. But you go through navigating the elements. So the earth-based elements inside of you. And then you can ask him, "Well, tell me what happened with the neighbor." "Oh, he came over and he's criticizing my yard or something. I'm so disgusted with him." And that word disgust is now another disturbed word. And you can start to, feel it in your stomach, and you realize, his stomach's actually, carrying disturbance. Well, it's not the neighbor. It's not the criticism. He's
Right.
any other neighbor might have a totally different experience, like a lovely chat or whatever, So we will work with maybe giving him the sequence or the Nutripuncture for the stomach. All of a sudden, that whole channel of his body of information is now harmonious. And you ask him, "So what's the problem?" And he'll say, "Oh, well, my neighbor came over and I don't know, we had he'll be reaching for where the disturbance is because it has the ability to so go in so quickly and clear those channels." So out of all the things I do, Nutripuncture has become my most interesting thing, and I've loved becoming the teacher of it.
And currently you're the only teacher in the United States, correct?
Yes, I mean it's a long journey. I started in the early 2000s with Nutripuncture, so it's been a little like close to 25 years. But for some reason, he speaks French and he speaks it with a very thick accent, and he's generous of spirit, but a lot of people don't vibe to him. But I can receive him, and I can channel that information. So
And you do that beautifully because I did take level one a couple of times. And
gonna
I
do it
think
again.
and yeah, absolutely, I'm ready for it again. And what I found fascinating actually was when we were doing the exercises and we would start taking the nutries, and when we were working on each other, and we did this all online, you could hear the change in the voice. I mean, one of the things that you have that is, I think, incredible is you're an amazing listener. But I think also, I think that comes natural to you, but also through Nutripuncture, you have refined that because you can feel, you can hear the disturbance in the voice and when it shifts after taking the Nutris. So I always found that very, very deep, very, because I had never thought of taking a pill or a supplement and hear the actual change in the voice. So
Mm.
can you speak about that a little bit more?
Yes. I mean, it's funny because on Facebook, somebody wrote me recently and said, tell me about Natural Healing Academy. And I came back, what do you want to know? But I asked them, are you energy sensitive? And, do you feel like you can tap into what I call kind of super sensing? Do you feel like you have the ability to tap into energy and information? And that's what we're really looking for in our students is these people who have sort of innate listening abilities, but haven't really developed them very well. And it does work better in person at first, but I found like even the most people who say, I hate my ears, I hate listening to the disturbances of others, these are all veils that are on their senses, because calluses, let's call them, because people don't want to be too sensitive, they don't want to feel necessarily the disturbances of others. But as you clear your own inside of yourself, your own pathways, your body becomes the most divine sensing instrument. And it's maybe it could be like a really good Oriental medicine doctor feeling a pulse and knowing you had an abortion or something. There's a lot of
Right.
channels that you can get to this divine information. But through Nutripuncture, we use voice. And the doctor did this experiment one time. He came into our class after lunch and he tested us, and we were all positive because we can be in a positive or negative state with our yin yang. Because we're students and we're proud that we're positive. And people, when they listen to us, they feel the positivity come through us, like it's a wave, right?
Right,
So
right.
he said, I went to lunch and I listened to this musician. He says, I want you to listen to the music. So it was a black gospel singer lady who was doing blues at a blues club. And we made good friends with her. And she's a super proponent of Nutripuncture now. But he plays the song for us and then had us test each other, and we had all gone negative because she
Oh,
was in the yin yang negative state. So her voice was carrying that disturbance. And we've all had the experience
wow.
where somebody like walks up to us and kind of blows us out of the water by their presence. It's like a shockwave hits us. And it's not them, it's not their character or deficiency of their spirit or something. It's just the physical body can get inverted polarity. We found this out. So um, with Dr. Veray's work and with the work of Nutripuncture, we start to hear the polarity of the voice. We start to hear the elements of the voice. We start to ask somebody, tell me about your mother or tell me about your father, like Dr. Veray, but we're actually like able to hear time and space insertion information and their connection with their joints and their bones and the segments of their body. We're able to hear so much. And like ultimately the ability to what they call here an efficient healing recipe, like that you will hear like the pathway for them to get out of their disturbance and trauma really very quickly. And that's so I also want to say like we're like a super sensor school of people that are really learning to hone their extrasensory abilities.
Yes, absolutely. And all it to me, it's a muscle that it takes practice, and you are just an incredible teacher at that, and also and giving the students a lot of confidence in bringing up that ability. So tell me a little bit more about the curriculum. How many levels are there? Just a little bit more into
Yeah,
actual.
yeah. Dr. Veray came originally and he was speaking as a medical doctor, kind of two medical doctors, and he lost the whole room. But I was able to hang in there because of my internship and the abilities that I had. Over the 20 plus years since I first started teaching, he's honed and refined the curriculum. It's really brilliant at this point. So it's down in 6 levels right now, 9 to be soon, and each level takes about a year. it's not expensive, but it's just, people take time to process this information, clear their fascia, learn their listening, and then, develop their intuitional sensibility and comportment and all of that. We think people will be able to go through faster in the future, but just to say the average time for somebody to do the first three modules, 1, 2, and 3, and then they become a Nutripuncture professional is about a year. So they
Okay.
take one about every 4 months. And then we go into 2 days of intensive work, which is usually in person, immersive experience where emergent principles come up, which means like a lot of seeds get planted in you, and then they'll take time to, emerge or have their expression. And those module ones are offered at the end of every month throughout the year. And then we'll collect a half a dozen students and jump them into module 2, kind of like an elevator, kind of riding up to the next floor. So at
Okay.
the end of module 1, we do 4 fundamental vitalities: yin yang, positive and negative, and then our governor and conception, our big meridians, because they govern everything to do with the body. And then we go through a few more vitalities. In module 2, we do 8 more fundamental vitalities. So there's really kind of 12 steps a person goes through to rise up into their own good biological organization. And then in module 3, we break with that and figure out why people's buckets are leaky, and we start to fix and repair the holes in our energy systems and weave whole cloth back, where people have ended up embedding or some somatic wound that they didn't know how to address. And Dr. Vray says, like, it's not, the disturbance is not really in our mind, but our heart information is disturbing the mind. But then he said, our heart information is not disturbed. It's our body's, somatic embedded disturbances that are actually bringing to all the trouble to bear. So, you can go and say, like, the mind-body connection. Nutripuncture is a system that speaks to the body in its own language. And
And I want to ask you about
yeah,
that because, of course, I'm being very logical also. This is like they're little tiny pills and they're made of minerals, but
yes.
how are they tuning forks? This has always been my puzzle. How do these work? If you look at the ingredients, I mean, the ingredients are just a few minerals and that's it,
Yes, I mean, it could be gold or copper or magnesium, and the
right?
amount that's in there is less than the amount you'd get in eating a piece of fruit. But, these days people are so savvy to the fact that we're not our chemistry. We're not our biology is really wrapped in layers of spiritual fabric of electromagnetic and photonic and water information that the ancients knew about. It's in the Vedas and it's in the Tao and it's in all the early understanding. Holy Spirit hovering over the water. It's all there. But it's
Yeah.
coded. So the idea that we carry a biofield is now starting to be, really articulated, and we're going to talk more about that in the future. And the fact that our identity doesn't stop at our skin, but we're really
Right.
carrying identity as a cocoon, layers all around us, some bigger than others, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. When the biofield, that specific word is already in the NIH that it was put back in 2015. So we know there's an emerging uh, a
yeah,
science there for, the medical community.
it's being
So
admitted. I mean, Harvard has a biophysics department, and kind of they've had it. So, but it's not well talked about or not well articulated because the focus was on the pharmaceutical biochemistry model, right? So, but imagine, like, if you imagine yourselves as a being who's really has a frozen light projection that's your body that is coming out of a projector, which is your layers
mhm,
of quantum physics reality, right? That these little tuning forks are not tuning forks for the chemistry; they're tuning forks for the physics,
yes.
and they can do that by um, taking a little metal particle, a nanoparticle of a metal, and another particle of a metal, and another particle of a metal, and connecting them electrically in circuit. And at that point, they start to vibrate and they actually start to put out a pitch. So imagine a tuning fork that doesn't just sit there, but like when you hit it, it actually boom, it's like humming. These are little physics tuning forks that are actually humming.
I
And
know
that's
they're
the
they're
brilliant.
amazing, and this is exactly why I felt them at that conference. I felt your table because they were literally humming. So it's an incredible system. And so, can you tell us, for example, are there other things that you use it for physical ailments? And what would you say Nutripuncture is the most beneficial for?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when someone comes to you, they're not going to come to you esoterically. They're going to come to you with a real problem, like I have knee pain right here, or some headache or something like that. So being a practitioner of Nutripuncture, you're seeing through layers of symptoms to try to get at, what is blocked here, in the most fundamental basis. Dr. Bray says all disturbances of humanity begin as disturbances of the earth. And for example, like we know, okay, digestion is, ailments begin with bad digestion, basically. I mean, you can say pathogenicity, you can say genetics, you can say lifestyle, all these different focuses, right? But in reality, disturbances start as disturbances of the earth. When you look at a human body from a nutripuncture system, you realize we're a collection of cells and that the cells themselves are dysregulating. So when you have a symptom that you want to get rid of, it's the fact that the cells themselves don't have what they need to work. And so in Nutripuncture, we look first at the cell membranes, outer and inner. The outer membrane is the yang, and the inner membrane is the yin. And the most fundamental inversion in the body is polarity inversion of the cell membrane. So that's called the Z potential or the Z potential, and it's a it's a millivolt. I mean, it's a lot. It sounds like a tiny amount, but it's a lot of voltage for a cell to hold. Cells can depolarize, and then they can start to suck the cells around them, of life, and you can create a dead area. It's called a polarity segmentation
Hmm.
in Chinese medicine, and there's other words for it in Ayurveda. But so we'll say no problem is off the table when it comes to working with Nutripuncture because we can restore the membranes of the cells, and then we can talk to the cellular regulation to reconnect it to the orchestration of the elements. And then within that, it's like the conductor comes back in for the choir and everybody is able to sing well. We've seen things like autism and cellular disorganization and all kinds of immune dysregulations because immune is based in identity. It has to know you and not you. And so you getting yourself back on you as you for you in your existence makes you the guardian of yourself and your life. And so really fundamentally, Nutripuncture empowers people back into holding their own space in a whole way.
Yeah, it's a completely different system. I've never really experienced anything like this to this level, from cell to the biofield. Obviously, the biofield is being created by our cells, right? So it's definitely a pretty powerful system. And also, I wanted to ask you, when is your next then level one?
So we're going to be teaching at the end of February. Our first level one class comes the last weekend in February, and it'll be the last weekend in every month,
Okay.
thereafter. We're just getting ready to graduate. Some students have gone to module 5 and 6 and become advanced professionals. So we're taking January to concentrate on bringing our group,
Amazing.
really, really through. That idea about, that connection between the cells and the biofield is that the cells actually have fur on them. They're not like round balls that are smooth. And all those hairs, the glycoproteins on the cell surface, are carrying individual information like party lines. So every cell in the body is listening to the heart. Every cell in the body is listening to the thoughts. And we've said this but we didn't know the mechanism. So the mechanism is these information streams that Nutripuncture calls vital currents. And inside of the Nutripuncture system, there's two systems, kind of like a checkers and a chess. And so in the checkers version, it's really simple to learn. And module 1 and 2, you can come out and be day one, practicing with your kit on yourself and others. So then
Yes.
it's kind of a lifetime to master. You never quite get to the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, and it evolves, right? As you begin to, uncover things that were, deep inside of you, and rebalance them with Nutripuncture, then there's other layers and other layers. It's just a fascinating
It
system.
seems amazing. And then the doctor, he just keeps running like a marathoner, and so yesterday we were privileged to be in a session where he was talking about the transhumanism thing
Mhm.
happening to people. But he took people and immediately clarified their identity from transhumanism back to themselves, like immediately. And a lot of people were getting bladder symptoms and back symptoms. They were feeling crawling things on their skin. They were having a lot of different things felt like they were moving on them. And so these disorientations, but it was so brilliant to see within minutes. And the idea that he came up with, which is I'm so grateful for him and for coming up with it, is that existence needs us.
Yeah, you know what? That's going to be a conversation for another day on transhumanism and what's happening on this planet right now. So I'm glad that he's onto that, and that Nutripuncture can be one of those things that can help us stay human.
Yes, it's where it's going is, decision, like the decision to be yourself
Yeah.
as yourself really helps existence.
Yes.
So, and
Well,
I feel like just want to like throw in here too that the students that come in, like they can be any practitioner of any kind. They
okay.
only need a high school education. It's so practical. Like, let's say I have had people that are a massage therapist because they work with the fascia, they work with the body, and it like gets people to feel innately better just by being touched. So that's a body to body communication system that is already embedded. But we have Ayurvedic practitioners, natural um, healing practitioners of herbalists and all kinds. And so that anybody can really like come in and start to find out, the basics of this.
Yes. Yeah, and plus you make it simple.
I mean, it comes down to yin and yang.
Yeah.
You chew a yin and you chew a yang, and you immediately become yin yang positive. And all people kind of need to start there. And
Yeah.
then in that kit that you held up, there's just like 38 boxes in there, but 28 that are unique, and 5 for women only, 5 for men only. But it's like a vocabulary of meridians. I mean, I think we think about chakras and nadis and stuff. We know there's different centers in the body that are working differently, and yeah, like there's a kidney one. So if you have any kidney or bladder issue, you just take the kidney one, yin yang and kidney, or yin yang and kidney and bladder. And then that second kit, it gets even much more simple. Like there's literally like a water port and a light. And what he found, Dr. Ray found, is in the aquaporins of the body, it's like a little funnel. And as the water information spins and it goes down really fast down this vortex, it actually creates a photon. So that's how
Wow.
bioluminescence works. But a lot of people's water ports are clogged. They're not
Yes.
hydrating well, and they're not getting good vortex water information. Um, and so he's able to restore the water information of the body really quickly and the photonic information of the body really quickly, just like
Wow.
through that little pill.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know I'll be signing up again for level one.
I love what you're doing so much. I want to say, like, when we were in that room with the doctor this last time, we saw a guy restore himself, right? But everybody watching him, they got better themselves. And so what we've done is we've created a community of people that are learning to, be unqualified sensors, just able to receive information. I can now listen to anybody anywhere, with their permission, of course, hear what's disturbed in their body and teach other people to do that. And I can teach them how to resolve it really, really quickly and easily. And I think that's like the students we're graduating are all at that level where they're doing that.
Well, I'm so happy that you took time today to talk to us about Nutripuncture. And if you have any closing thoughts, and also
Sure.
I'm going to post your website on the video so that if anybody's interested, they can contact you and hopefully sign up for your classes.
I would love to have conversations about Nutripuncture with anybody. I want to like just say that I love that you care about this group so much and you care about the wellness of the group and that you're kind of shepherding a bunch of people. I can tell your whole heart is to bring people
Mhm.
together and
Yeah.
make healing happen. And I love the practice work that you do that brings people to wholeness and wellness. And
Thank you.
especially now these interviewing things that you're doing. And we're going to bring the biofield viewer thing forward.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
just want to describe this conversation because the biofield can now be, real time imaged on video, right? And
Yes.
so imagine this like that somebody stands up and they've got their real time biofield, and you can see it. You can see a lot. And I'll teach you guys how to read that biofield too, because I've been taking classes and learning it. But then you take the Nutripuncture and you hold it. And it actually changes your biofield dramatically just to hold it. I have people
Just
taping them on them with little bandages, or putting them in their pockets. When you chew it, it's more powerful. It's best. Um, and that gospel singer I told you about, her name's Nicole Henry, and I talked to her, and Dr. Vray told her, "Did you know your voice is disturbing people?" And she said, "Oh God, I had no idea." And so he taught her how to have a positive voice, and she loves it. And she got international awards and stuff. So her voice became very positive and very powerful. And
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
anyway, I loved being here with you. I'm going to post some biofield images of before and after Nutripuncture. We did
Perfect.
really powerful sequences, and we show some really amazing biofield changes with the before and after.
Yeah. I just recently bought the biofuel viewer, so I'm also going to be doing some training with that. And also, sharing with the group. We're going to have a group Zoom next month with Thor and John so that people can experience in the group the live pictures and the biofield. So I hope
Super
hopefully
exciting.
yeah, as soon as I have a date, I'll post it in the group and post the Zoom link. And I know you've been using the biofuel viewer, so I'm excited that you actually brought it up and talked about it. And just the fact, I mean, it's mind blowing that you just hold, a nutri and it changes the biofield and you can see it,
Mm-hmm.
in real time. It's just incredible. I think what happens is when people actually see things with their eyes, they
Mm-hmm.
can it registers. Like today I saw a patient that he was having some romantic issues, and I use different things to measure. I use the voice bio, and I also use an aura reader, which is fantastic. And both of them I showed his heart area, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And now this guy is an engineer, and he's like, "It's right there." And I said, "Okay, so are we gonna get to work?"
Oh man.
Yeah.
Now, when
So
you get the viewer, definitely get that screen, because they say you can use a white wall, but it doesn't work anywhere as well on a white wall as on like a projector screen. With you can get a collapsible one with an extension. You just pull it down.
okay,
It'll make a
perfect.
huge, huge difference. So I want to see that. I'm really super, super happy
Yeah.
for seeing that part too.
Yes. So thank you again, Lawrence, for being here and talking with us. And I'm hoping that you guys will take advantage of learning from Lawrence, because the Nutripuncture it's in a different category that nothing like I've ever worked with before. So I highly recommend that you guys do a little bit more research on. I'll post another video that you have that I think also explains a lot, and I will post your website, your academy, so that they can look more into Nutripuncture. So
Thank you for
thank
doing this
you,
interview. Thank you for all that you are and all you do. I just love
thank you, thank you.